According to a survey for the New York Times, America's 100 best paid corporate chiefs got an 18.7% boost in their perks packages.
Consider the numbers. Last month's loss of 55,000 full-time jobs was the largest since February 2009.
What upsets him most is that several foreign workers with a multinational outsourcing company from India have been brought in to take over.
Last month, 500,000 Americans dropped out of the labor force.
And with that, welcome back. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
There are solutions all over the internet to every problem that we talk about, and that's why we started Radio Free Canada. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet.
What do you got for me, brother?
Well, I got good news for you.
Okay.
About the economy.
Okay, right on.
The rich are getting richer.
Oh, okay. That means that it's business as usual.
Exactly.
Okay, remember, check our facts. We don't make commercials saying, trust us. We run stuff like this.
Though income inequality may be at its most severe since 1929, CEOs are still living the good life, and they're doing so on the company's dime. According to a survey for the New York Times, America's 100 best paid corporate chiefs got an 18.7% boost in their perks packages. Those perks, which, range from access to a private jet to company-sponsored security details to life insurance policies, were worth $320,635 on average last year, according to an analysis of the survey. The rise in perks comes as companies continue to face pressure to rein in executive pay, with ordinary Americans struggling in the wake of the financial crisis.
So, of course, they're giving themselves more money.
Of course. Actually, it's not really a salary, though. It's perks.
Yeah, it's just perks. Don't worry about it. Everything is going as normal.
Private jets and junkets to exotic locales.
I know, but we're working on it right here. We've got solutions for you because you deserve solutions. This is Radio Free Canada. Let's do another one real quick.
Canada's already sluggish economy took a turn for the worse last month. More than 50,000 Canadians lost their jobs, making March the worst month for employment since the recession 4 years ago. It's an unexpected setback for the recovery. And as Christina Stevens reports, the losses are spread right across the country.
Consider the numbers. Last month's loss of 55,000 full-time jobs was the largest since February 2009.
Canadian numbers were pretty dismal right across the board. The economy is definitely in a soft patch. It's going to struggle to see much growth at all this year. And it suggests that interest rates are going absolutely nowhere, and that the Canadian dollar could soften a little bit further.
It underscores the need for us to stay focused on what matters, and that's job creation.
The losses span the country. The biggest were in Ontario and Quebec. Each saw a decline of 17,000 jobs. Alberta's loss of 11,000 jobs was its first notable decline in more than 2 years. And Nova Scotia was the only province to see an increase, with 2,900 new jobs. The highest losses were in manufacturing, hotels and restaurants, and public administration. There's also disappointment in the U.S., which added just 88,000 jobs in March, the lowest gain since June.
There's actually very little difference between the U.S. unemployment rate at 7.6% and the Canadian unemployment rate at 7.2%. But the labor market in Canada is still quite a bit healthier than it is in the U.S.
But highly competitive. Manjeet Demand says 80% of jobs aren't even advertised.
Tap into that hidden job market by networking and by leveraging contacts.
Christina Stevens, Global News, Toronto.
So, we're just not putting up with the propaganda.
Well, don't you know they're using the Economic Action Plan?
Yes. The Bank Profit Action Plan is coming at you, courtesy our Conservative government. All these full-time jobs disappearing.
Exactly. And if they're not being disappeared, they're being outsourced.
Yes, indeed. The Royal Bank has gotten itself in some hot water, but this opened up a can of worms that they were not prepared to have open.
Oh, no, they were not.
We're talking about mining and the mining industry, but let's get caught up to date and make sure that you get the information about the Royal Bank.
Losing a job to outsourcing is, of course, an unfortunate fact of life these days, and that's what dozens of employees of the country's largest bank are going through right now. The Royal Bank is axing their jobs, but it's not eliminating the positions. Instead, they're being filled by foreign workers brought into Canada. Our Go Public reporter Kathy Tomlinson has their story.
RBC is axing Dave Moreau's job, along with more than 40 of his colleagues who do IT support for the bank in Toronto. What upsets him most is that several foreign workers with a multinational outsourcing company from India have been brought in to take over. Moreau and his co-workers have to train them. He can't understand why foreigners were given work visas to come into Canada and take his job. RBC says this outsourcing will save money and the foreign workers will be here until 2015, when the work will then be done overseas. iGate, the outsourcing company, says it brings workers to Canada under the Temporary Foreign Worker Program or a lesser-known work visa called intra-company transfer. Regardless, Immigration Minister Jason Kenney says no foreign worker should be allowed into Canada under these circumstances.
The rules are very clear. You cannot displace Canadians to hire people from abroad.
As a result of our inquiries, the Minister of Human Resources and Development, Diane Finley, has now put out a statement saying this situation is unacceptable. Kathy Tomlinson, CBC News, Vancouver.
What else is she going to say?
Which,
of course, it's unacceptable.
I mean, yes, there they are. Foreign workers coming in. Agricultural industry locally right here in the Okanagan, seeing that a lot of, cherry-picking jobs are going overseas.
Exactly. Well, they're actually the overseas people are coming here to pick the cherries.
Yeah, I know. And how does that work? How do these temporary seasonal jobs get given to foreign workers? Because they've got that magic visa that means they get paid under minimum wage.
But don't you know the Royal Bank was working within the rules?
Yeah, okay.
What does that say about the rules?
Yeah, I know. Remember, until you start voting on bank policy, there is no democracy in Canada. And this is one of the policies that they are above the law with.
Well, we have to give them equal time. We have to give them a chance to get out their spin.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we're trying to be fair and balanced, even though we're not Fox News.
Okay, let's be fair.
Back to one of our top stories today. Accusations that Canada's largest bank is hiring temporary foreign workers to replace Canadian employees. Amanda Lang spoke with the CEO of Royal Bank of Canada, Gord Nixon. The entire interview will be on the Lang and O'Leary exchange tonight, but we have a sneak preview.
Is RBC replacing Canadian workers with foreign workers?
Absolutely not. Firstly, RBC has not and does not hire any temporary foreign workers. This issue revolves around a relatively small contract for our investor services businesses, which was a business we acquired, the 50% that we didn't own. It used to be called RBC Dexia. And as part of that acquisition, we've got a program to improve the productivity and the efficiency of the business. This involves a relatively small contract that has been won by one of our suppliers, which is iGate. And that contract, which is an IT services contract, is being transitioned to iGate. The issue around temporary foreign workers, which is an iGate issue, although they are a subcontractor, is one that is unusual to me in terms of why it's an issue here. And our expectation is that all of our contractors comply with the rules and regulations of the country. And to our understanding, that is the case with this particular situation. It's also understanding that there may be one person who is actually here under a temporary foreign work visa of the people from iGate involved. The rest are just people here for the transition process.
But did you hear the spin?
Oh, yeah. We're not doing it.
No.
It's the company we hired that's doing it.
I'm sorry, man. Don't look behind the curtain. Pay no attention to the guy pulling the levers at the back.
Well, he did get that huge CEO perks hike.
Oh,
so
man. Okay.
I don't know if that's in Canada as well as the States, but it's fairly likely that the RBC is posting record profits.
Let's run this real quick. Make sure we round out the argument here.
We're getting a lot of reaction to our story about bank employees losing their jobs only to be replaced with temporary foreign workers. Kathy Tomlinson with more stories from more employees at more banks.
It appears they're in every major bank. foreign contractors here temporarily taking over work that will go overseas while Canadian workers go out the door. Juan Terrazas worked in IT for TD Canada Trust. He says he and dozens of others were let go last year after temporary workers showed up to learn the ropes. Same story from Lisa Cobo, but at Scotiabank. She was on contract when the manager of this Indian outsourcing company here temporarily told her she was gone. We heard from BMO staffers and some from CIBC saying it's happening there too. There's a flood of upset IT workers, many now unemployed. The opposition leader is taking up their cause.
The employee who's losing his or her job doesn't care what kind of a loophole it is. All they know is that we have a Canadian government that is allowing this to take place.
As many Canadians join in.
My last check at the Royal Bank of Canada.
Brian Sear is just one bank customer expressing his outrage by closing his RBC accounts.
It's outrageous what we're doing to our country.
On Facebook, there's a boycott RBC page, nothing less than national outrage. The immigration minister says it's against federal rules for any foreign worker to come here, even temporarily, if it costs a Canadian their job. It's clear now, though, this type of outsourcing is common and many Canadians want it stopped. Kathy Tomlinson, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now, that was crazy, the graphic of the guy, the RBC guy burning the Canadian flag.
Yeah, like that. But, you know, it seems their defense is going to be, but everybody else was doing it.
Oh, I know, see? I mean, come on. What childishness.
But, I mean, that just goes to show how much our Canadian banking industry cares about their customers and their employees.
I know. It's all about profit because, remember, that's the number one excuse given to by these guys is it's about making more money.
And apparently these poor guys from India who are being taught to do this are actually almost indentured servants.
Oh, man. It's slave labor over there. It's slave labor over here. Just go to Walmart. You can see some of the laborers right there. Let's take a look at the United States because this is shocking.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so U.S. labor participation. Remember, check our facts. We don't say trust us.
21-year-old Brandon Spires is one of millions of unemployed Americans in the country. He says he's been actively looking for work for a couple of years now and feels saddened and discouraged by the process.
Well, I could say since I've been looking for a job, I would say very hard. It has been hard.
Though he says he's not discouraged enough to give up looking for work, several thousands of others have. Last month, 500,000 Americans dropped out of the labor force, which is the percentage of those who work or are actively seeking work. The number sunk from 63.5% to 63.3% of Americans 16 years of age and up participating in the labor force, a 34-year low. Though the unemployment rate fell from 7.7 to 7.6%, indicating signs of a strengthening economy, this was due to the Americans who dropped out of the labor force, decreasing its size to its lowest point since 1978. The drop in the percentage of laborers is seen as a distress signal for the economy. In addition to this, the number of job openings reported for the month of March was 88,000, about half of the expected estimate. These conditions coupled together have many worried that the economy is weakening. Nearly half of the dropouts were concentrated in those under the age of 25, falling below 55% of that category participating in the labor force, suggesting young people are particularly struggling to find work. Marjan Ossi, Press TV, Washington.
So there you have it. The numbers don't lie.
And of course, there's that statement about the economy again.
Well, don't you know the economy is growing? The Dow is up. The rich are getting richer. The banks are doing fine. Big industry is doing fine.
I know. It's just okay.
Arms sales are doing really well.
Make sure you get informed about this. We're going to talk about the fact that banks make money up out of nowhere and they're not creating jobs because it's not profitable for them. This is Radio Free Canada. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
Coming up next, we are going to be doing it, taking a look at the world in 15 minutes.
As much of it as we can see in that time, yeah.
It's a quickie that satisfies every time. We are Radio Free Canada. Make sure you check our facts because we don't make commercials saying trust us or we're an authority in any way, shape, or form. Okay?
We're not objective either. We do have an agenda, and we're not hiding it.
Make sure you speak freedom and have confidence, because we are saving the world one community at a time. Municipal sustainability coming up, and a major report with Idle No More. This is Radio Free Canada.